value-driven commercial real estate practices.
With me, Jay Royster. Yeah, my name is Jay Royster. I run Royster Commercial Real Estate. We're based in Charlotte, North Carolina. We are one of the premier land brokerage firms in Charlotte and North Carolina, and our goal is really to sell development sites for new constructions. That can be any kind of new construction that involves land assemblage and entitlement, but primarily as a byproduct of the market, we're really focused on new construction multifamily, which we did a lot of from 2018 to 2022, and that market has slowed down significantly, as we will talk about, I'm sure. And we do a lot of single family communities, townhome communities, really geared towards home buyers on the new construction side. We also do acquisitions. We will sell buildings from time to time. So we are opportunistic, but we are very geographically focused on covering certain areas and primarily focused on development or redevelopment sites.
I met Jay through our group, Massimo Group, and it's awesome to get to meet fellow brokers that specialize in land and that ultra focus on it, right? Like you and I do. It's very exciting. We have this little group called the Land Crew, which we meet once a month from different areas in the nation. And it's very exciting to hear what each one of us are working on our different areas.
That's been really cool because a lot of times what you're seeing in South Florida, we may or may not be seeing in the Carolinas. And so we're able to collaborate and share on best practices. And you have all these things that you're working on and we need help with, and vice versa. We're doing some things that are really good that you may need help with. So being able to share in best practices with someone that does something very similar. Land is very niche focused and it is hyper local, but there's a lot of tricks and different things that you can do to be very efficient in this business. It's been awesome to be a part of the Land Crew and be able to share in those practices with you and everybody else that's a part of it throughout the country.
So tell us a little bit about, on your neck of the woods, what trends are you seeing in your region? I know that you mentioned that you focus primarily on multifamily and that you work with some of the biggest multifamily developers out there. So tell us, what trend are you seeing within the past 12 months in your area?
Well, the biggest trend that no one can really control is we have, I think the latest data showed that 150 people every day are moving to Charlotte, North Carolina. So people are moving here from all over the country. I think the top states we're getting are from New York, California. You know, the inbound migration here is significant, like it is a lot of Sunbelt markets. But Charlotte and the Carolinas is just a great place to live. There's great quality of life. It's relatively affordable compared to other major markets in the country. And so we have a lot of people moving here and we have a lot of businesses moving here. North Carolina was just ranked by CNBC as the #1 state to do business in the country. And so we have companies and employers moving here. And then as a byproduct of that, and it's a little bit of chicken and the egg, we have people that are moving here for jobs and opportunities, but also for the quality of life because we have beaches and mountains and weather's good 9 months out of the year. We're not Miami. We don't have your sunny South Florida year round, but for 9 months out of the year, we're pretty good other than January and February, but our winters are very mild. There's just a lot of people moving here. And so then the question is, businesses are moving here and then where do these people live? And I think it's a question of where are they coming from, but more importantly, why are they coming, right? And who is coming? And I think we're getting a lot of college educated people. That's shown in the data. Charlotte's a really exciting place, just like other markets in the Carolinas, Raleigh, Greenville, South Carolina, Charleston. You know, all these markets in the Carolinas are really exciting to be in right now. But, you know, it's very competitive. The trends that we're seeing, 2015 to 2022, there was a great 7-year runway of multifamily. When the market shifted with rates, that really came to a halt. And it's been very difficult to sell or close multifamily apartment deals over the last 3 years now. We sold 4,000 multifamily units from 2018 to 2022, and we've sold one deal since then for a total of 275 units. So I think that just shows you the market's really shifted. So now we've been working with a lot of builders since 2022, and we're about 3 years into that, and then we'll shift again whenever the market turns. That's the biggest trend that we've seen.
Basically, you know, we're seeing the same here. I've had already in the past 6 months 4 projects that were almost fully entitled to be shovel ready, and developers have brought it to a halt due to obviously interest rates, increase in construction cost, labor issues, etc., etc., etc. So I'm seeing more of definitely these projects that were shovel ready have come to a halt, the ones that were not ready, and more of land bankers moving in and buying places where they think that where obviously the future growth is going to be, the ones that have that financial strength to buy right now and hold. Are you seeing the same?
We are. I mean, what we're seeing is there are many apartment groups, multifamily developers that are looking for sites and opportunities, and there is a scarcity of sites, and we are having zoning and utility issues in the areas where multifamily apartments do work. And so I think we are seeing a shifting in the market, but I think more so than that, we're just seeing a disconnect in the market because owners' expectations are still from 2021 and 2022, and the math, because of cost and rates, has changed. And so a lot of times the bid ask is a 20 or 30% disconnect. And so the best way I can explain this market is disconnected because an owner may want $5 million for their land and it's only worth 3.5, and they're not willing to budge. And so that's been a big challenge, I think, is we have seen a change in underwriting, but not a change in expectations. And so we're in the middle of a reset right now, and we'll see what happens. We'll see which side holds out longer, but something's got to give.
The majority of us land brokers is stand still right now. Let's see what's going to happen.
It's very much been a standstill. That's a good way to put it. And it's been a disconnect.
And with this big, beautiful bill everybody's talking about now, do you see any changes that have affected immediately right now, any of it?
We haven't seen anything yet. I think overall the consensus in real estate is optimism around it and the benefits of appreciation. But as far as the day-to-day, any changes or, especially with new construction development sites, we haven't really seen any change in that. I think if anything, though, there's more optimism and more belief that the market will hopefully get better. And that's been interesting, too, because it's challenging and disconnected in our market. And I know that a lot of parts of the country are much worse than we are as far as being in a challenging market. And so I think this too shall pass. It's been, nothing really over the last 5 years has been normal. We had COVID starting in 2020 and then the rate hikes and election. And now here we are almost at the end of 2025. It's been a very volatile 5 years, and maybe this is the new normal, but we haven't really seen any material changes from legislation yet. The real goal for a lot of these groups is, hey, we just need more sites and more deals.
I actually met with a lawyer today for lunch, and we were just talking about what is new with the incentives for affordable housing, which affordable housing is it's what is new about it. What can developers from the new changes to it, what can they take from it? What can we apply? What can we communicate to developers that specialize in the area? I actually have one of them that is actually building a couple of sites in Fort Myers, but it's still so new. He wasn't able to clarify it, and I think it's still going to take some time to it. It's kind of like the Live Local Act, right? It's so complex that it's difficult to understand all the intricacies of it and what does it mean and what can developers do about it when they're trying to apply it to a site. Do you do any of affordable housing that you've seen developers in your area?
I think it's something that I think we all need to turn more attention to. And I think there's only so many hours in a day and everyone has their own passion projects, but it is something that I'm passionate about just because I know how important it is for people to have roofs over their heads. And I think that the more focus and attention we can bring to it, it's a very complicated issue, no doubt. First off, I would recommend anyone that wants to educate themselves on the issue, go follow Jay Parsons because he is a great follow. And a lot of what he talks about, and he has data to back this up, is we just need to build more housing in general, right? So it doesn't matter what kind of housing we're building, just building more of it. But building more Class A housing then allows other housing to open up in downstream from Class A. And so just being more pro-development and having zoning that is supportive of more development actually helps affordable housing. The only way to bring rent down is bringing more units online. That's classic supply and demand. So really it's build more and the market will lower rents, and then someone that's going to be living in a Class A, if that Class A wasn't built, well, they may be living in a Class B apartment. Well, then where's that person that living in a Class B? They'd have to find somewhere else to live. So there's a trickle down effect to this that actually I think the data backs up and I really believe in. I think that's one caveat. And then there's so much philanthropic and government money out there that I would like to think that there are better solutions for affordable housing, because the process is very burdensome. So it's a very complicated issue, but I think at its core, the best way to approach affordable housing is having zoning that's going to be much more developer friendly so that developers can build more. If you look at for example, Tokyo, Japan, one of the most expensive cities in the world, they don't have near the issue with affordable housing that New York has, because their zoning allows for very dense development. And so a lot of the municipalities that complain about affordable housing, they restrict market rate housing. By eliminating units, they're not allowing the market to keep it affordable. So yeah, and I think our firm, we would like to do more in the future as far as helping contribute to that, whether that's finding the land or setting up a fund that will then help others that need affordable housing. So it's definitely something that's important to us, but it is a very complicated issue.
Absolutely. I mean, hopefully now with the additional incentives, because usually the caveat is, affordable housing, it's just so hard, especially nowadays with costs going up, right? It is like they're not penciling. So if they don't pencil, how are you going to build them? I mean, you got to create a win-win. So I'm really hoping that with these new, incentives that have come out, that they would really help developers be able to build more of these properties. But like you said, if you build more, there is more. And then the more product we have, then the rents are going to obviously come down, which is right now we have a deficit. I keep hearing, in the Apple news just last week, first news that came out, they're just talking about the affordability issue that we have. I hear in Miami, you see it so often. Sometimes I have clients of mine that have a portfolio of single family homes. And sometimes you see when there's no HOAs, you see 4 and 5 families that have to, go into a unit to be able to afford it. It's a real struggle. It's a big issue. And like you, I would love to be able to do more of that in order to help. So hopefully with this new incentives, we'll be able to do some of that. Tell me something, what has been your most creative land deal that you have put together, that you have said to yourself, wow, this is really cool that we were able to put this together?
Our best deals are really the ones that we feel like we're really helping a family make sure that they extract the most value out of. They don't look back and say that they sold it for too little. We're working on a large 260 acre assemblage with 3 families that is about 35 minutes just outside of Charlotte from downtown, 35-minute drive. So we're pretty excited about that one. We have another one that is 140 acres north of Charlotte. We're selling to a national builder. Both of these will be national builder deals.
That is super exciting. Absolutely. Those landowners that are family owned or, that they have, sometimes they don't know what they're holding. And then when they tell you their expectations and you tell them, this could be easily double what you're thinking, it's like, wow, or whatever the factor is. But that is definitely very satisfying. Absolutely.
Yeah, we're really excited about this and really just keeping a diversified pipeline between single family, trying to find more multifamily, some adaptive reuse. We're working on a build to rent acquisition that is something new for us, but that's been really fun and exciting to work on as the market has shifted a little bit. So we're representing a small 2.5 acre site here in Charlotte that's at a transit stop. It'll be about 40 to 45 townhomes. So we have a lot of fun things that we're working on, but we're always looking for more, right? As a broker, there's never enough. What about you? What's the most exciting thing that you're working on right now?
Right now, you know what? Unfortunately, there's a few of mine that I have been on hold. Again, I had an industrial site that we actually had a couple of LOIs, but then there was an Amazon site that was coming close to it, but it had been, on the work. We knew that Amazon had bought those 150 plus acres, but we didn't know yet if they were going to pull the plug or not. They were going to, and then they stopped. And now we just found out that they definitely submitted site plans. So my seller, which was a very wise decision, nothing that I could tell him about it, decided not to sell and hold until Amazon starts building, which is on his end very smart, because definitely his site is going to be, we spoke to a couple of appraisers, it's going to be worth double what it is right now once that site goes up. And something else that we're working, there's a site that has a resolution approved for a hotel for 250 rooms, and we're trying to change it. This was done pre-COVID, right? Now after COVID, it was supposed to be a huge hotel with conference area, restaurants, etc. Now that is very hard to pencil, so we're trying to come up with a mixed use so that you have the component of retail, smaller hotel, not luxury, but more, relaxed, and having the multifamily factor as well. And the city is definitely working with us on that. So we're excited about that. I've never done a mixed use before, so that's going to be exciting.
I think that just speaks to the market today, that you have to be extra creative and you have to look at things through a different lens, and something that was going to work 3, 4, 5 years ago, 7 years ago isn't going to work today. And so you have to look at everything through a different lens and get really creative right now. Let me ask you this. What else are you seeing that are major trends in your market right now?
I would say a year ago, industrial was like super hot. I remember when I used to sell warehouses for $120 a foot. And last year, I saw sales of $350 a foot. It was like insane. I've seen that has come down. Obviously, you see when that happens, you see all this surplus of industrial going up. We see areas like, for example, Doral here, that there are these massive warehouses, and I'm seeing those prices coming down again. Yesterday, I just got an offering memorandum for this really nice warehouse for $250 a foot, which before last year you would have not seen that. So I see that coming down. I still see that multifamily is hot. It would be the hottest item right now. Everybody's looking for it. If I would get $10 for every developer that calls me for a shovel-ready multifamily site, I would be rich right now.
And so is there just a difficulty in finding those sites, and then the zoning utilities an issue?
Absolutely. There are areas in Florida where we definitely have an issue for environmental reasons. They're not allowing septic tanks anymore. So you have to wait until water comes in. And the plans for water, it's going to take, unless you do it privately, you have to wait. It's going to be, God knows, 5+ years. So I had actually 300 plus parcel of land where we were going to do a multifamily, a PUD. We had to withdraw from it because there was a change and they were not going to accept septic tanks at all. So that is definitely for multifamilies. Usually you see it that they still allow it on single family lots, but not on PUDs. You have to wait for water and sewer to come in. So that is definitely an issue.
What are the best markets in Florida right now, or where are you seeing the most activity and growth?
You know what? Other than the Tri-County, I live in Broward County. And obviously, Miami-Dade, Broward, and West Palm Beach is the Tri-County, which is super hot, which maybe I shouldn't say that I don't even look at land here anymore, but it is just so scarce and expensive, right? So I've been moving to Lee County, Polk, and Martin County. They're areas where it's only about an hour and a half, 2 hours from here. Like I mentioned in Fort Myers, where we bought a site that was zoned for, I believe it was 6 dwellings per acre. We were able to rezone it to almost double, 12 acres. So for less than $1 million, we were able to buy a parcel where we're going to be able to build 96 units, which that over here is unheard of. Obviously, the rent is different, right? But it's not that far off. I mean, it's the areas of Fort Myers, Lakeland, Lehigh Acres. I remember in Lehigh Acres where you used to be able to buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom for $150,000, $175,000. Now you cannot get it for less than $350,000. And this was only 2 years ago. But Lehigh Acres is an area that is only an hour and a half from Miami. So you see I-75, which is Alligator Alley. You see Alligator Alley and you are coming from there at 5 o'clock and you see the amount of cars driving from Miami to Lehigh Acres because they have moved to Lehigh Acres. There's no way that you can find a brand new 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage house in a 10 to 12,000 square feet lot here in Miami under $350,000.
And that deal that you referenced, you're getting 96 units. How many acres is that?
8 acres. When you work at the different cities, it makes a big difference. When a city is pro development and they work with you and they get back to you and you can have an open communications to those cities that are overwhelmed and are so backed up, it makes a world of a difference. So we've had a very good experience.
That's great. I couldn't agree more. It's so much better and more refreshing to work with a municipality when you're welcomed with open arms as opposed to the alternative.
You know what? I've been digging more into, the difference between, modular homes, mobile homes. There's a difference, right? And it's how everybody thinks like a mobile home is a mobile home. There's a difference. And I actually spoke to a company called Clayton Homes and a few of them that do these type of homes. I was just curious in terms of the pricing because we need more housing. We need more housing. I'm like, you know what? So let's look at sites where we can put these type of homes, which I would think would be a quicker process. Hopefully, I'm thinking you're going to be able to save a buck here and there in the construction. But it is so complex, right? Is there water? Is there sewer? What type of home you're putting, what type of finishes that home has. When I spoke to Clayton Homes, for example, they have from like $90,000 all the way to you name it, because they could put all the bells and whistles on these homes. To me, it's very exciting. I don't know much about it. I'm learning a lot more now. I want to dig more into that because I find that definitely that could be a solution, especially now that construction costs are going up so much that there is definitely a deficit in labor, and labor is obviously becoming more expensive. Just an example, I was just talking to my roofer yesterday, to a roofer company that is very big and known in my area, and he says, he went from a crew of X amount to almost half. So he's like, there's so much that I can do. So this is something that is definitely is affecting our entire industry, but definitely, like you said, and like you're seeing, more and more people are moving to your area. You need more rooftops. What are we going to do to solve that issue? I find that very exciting. So I'm going to be digging more into that. I actually wanted Clayton Homes to come and talk to us, but they couldn't. But I'll find one that can come and talk to us.
I think because of our population growth and also because of the new generation that is upcoming right now, I think that multifamily is going to be the hottest asset class because there's been so little multifamily that's closing. And when you ride around, at least in North Carolina in 26 and 27, there will be far fewer projects that are underway than there's been over the last decade. And so I think that we are going to have a supply crunch. And so I think that anything that will be delivered in 28, 29, 30 on the multifamily side. So that's already 5 years out. Will really do well because I think that there will be very little to no new product being delivered in the next 12 to 24 months. And so I think multifamily, we don't do a lot of retail, but I know it's a very tight retail market. People joke if you can find the dirt here in around Charlotte or North Carolina, you can really figure everything else out because all of the asset classes are pretty desirable. But I think there's going to be a lot of pent up multifamily demand.
I think we see the same here. We have the same issue here. It's just a matter like we just discussed. There's not enough rooftops, right? We have to build more, and multifamily by far, it's one of the most sought out by all the developers out there. I'm definitely seeing a lot of more agriculture land, the areas that are willing to rezone for multifamily. I mean, I don't know in Charlotte, but over here in Florida, there's a big opportunity for that. There is definitely land that you're seeing that, not that I'm a connoisseur on the subject, but I had clients that used to have agricultural land that used to get a lot of subsidies that are not available anymore, and they just cannot sustain it anymore. So what are you going to do with all those lands? Definitely. But that then comes the issue of the water and sewer and capacity. Can you do more septic tanks? Is that good for the environment or not? So, but definitely there is land available. It's just a matter of sorting out the environmental issues and seeing which ones can you rezone and which ones you should not.
We have a lot of those conversations with either counterparties or clients. So regardless of which side of the table we're on with landowners, we're usually still wanting them to sell. It's just a matter of how we're advising them. And obviously, if they're a client, we're advising them on what's their best interest. But I think that it just depends on the current value versus the perceived future value. And none of us have a crystal ball, but if you have a $20 million property, you think it's going to, really hit the top of the market, or there's nowhere else to run on the value. We're advising, these clients to sell this land and reinvest those dollars and get compounding interest. So a lot of times landowners have a cash issue, or like Monica said, they can't operate the use that was there anymore. They have a great piece of value of property that may take 2 to 3 years to sell, but they have no income on it today. And so the value of their property is much better suited to sell and then compound that interest elsewhere, whether it be a 1031 exchange or taking those dollars and taking a tax hit and reinvesting it. So that's how we're usually advising our clients to think about it is if they have little to no income, hey, let's sell this. We're at a peak price, and then you can take those dollars and reinvest it. Now, if they have a property that we think can double in the next 3 years, we're not going to advise them to sell that, right? Because they're going to be better off holding it. But that's very rarely, because of the expectations in our market, that's very rarely the case.
Over here, obviously, I've done a few of them, and I always try to present the opportunity to landowners that don't necessarily have the funds and or the expertise to entitle the land, because obviously a shovel ready or entitled land ready to build is much more profitable than for a seller than raw land, right? So we offer the opportunity of doing a joint venture. Do you do any of that in Charlotte? Have you done any of that or seen that?
We love to. I would say that a lot of the multifamily groups, the merchants will not JV, but the ones that will, and I think more and more are starting to, it's a really creative deal structure, because it allows the owner to take the capital, the valuation of their land, and maybe even a higher valuation, and roll that into a deal as a reinvestment. So it's not for everybody, but for certain situations and certain owners, it's the best situation, because if they don't need the cash, they can take those dollars and reinvest it in their real estate with a credible partner. We love doing that when we can. We've done 3 of those over the last 7 years. So it's not something we've done a ton of, but it's a great situation when we can do it.
No, and I agree with you. It's not for everybody. Everything sounds wonderful until legally something does not, right? I've seen a couple that there has been issues, but at the end of the day, you learn from your mistakes and you learn how to structure them in a way that the more clear those documents, right? Those joint venture documents that really specify what are the responsibilities of each party. What are you bringing to the table? Have deadlines, have a timeline, and have someone definitely like a project manager that is on top of it is crucial to make sure that it comes to fruition. But for a landowner that is sitting on the land, like you said before, and there's nothing that you can do with it, you don't need the money right now, but you could definitely add so much more value to it if you entitle it, especially those that you could rezone, right? Those are like the stars because of what you see, what's going around it, that you have that probability of being able to rezone, for example, agricultural to multifamily and get that approval with a land use attorney. Those are golden.
I agree. We love looking at any of these deals that we can get creative. And I think the thing that you have to always solve for is, what are the owner's expectations, or what are their goals? And then reverse engineering from there. So some owners want long-term cash flow. Others just want the cash. Some care about taxes. Some don't. Some have families that are involved. Some, if you have a developer client, he may have debt on it. So I think every situation is different. And I think we always just have to look at what are the goals and objectives, and then reverse engineer from there on providing the best solution. And I think that's where, especially in today's market, that creativity really matters, to be able to provide solutions that are curated based on what the client or owner needs.
And like you said, this is why you don't see this every day, but sometimes like all the stars have to align, like you say. Definitely that the outcome from that landowner has to align with what you are proposing in this joint venture, and that you don't have a need for immediate cash flow. They're not in a hurry. The developer sees the opportunity, I mean, or whoever is doing the joint venture with you sees the probability of getting it done, because nobody's going to obviously go into it not knowing, without being almost sure that they can get this. That's why I love these joint ventures, because if they're putting the money on the line, it's because they know it's a high probability that it's going to happen. You're doing your due diligence before, there's a high probability of it happen. Like you and I know, nothing is certain until everything is signed and money is exchanged at the end of the day, or those approvals come in. But when there's a high probability and the parties align, is a beautiful thing.
When incentives are aligned, that's always a win-win.
Yes, absolutely.